Scott's been custom harvesting for us since '92. This year was his 5th year, and he runs the smoothest, finest custom harvesting operation I've ever seen. And I've been observing custom harvesters for 50 years.
He does such an impressive job. I mean, he's so far ahead. I think what the kind of operation he's running is where custom cutters are going to be down the road.
Monday, Texas, home of the Moguls football team. It's a town where pickup trucks outnumber residents by 2 to 1. The summers here are long, hot, and invariably dry. Although the main street is lined with an intriguing variety of businesses, by far the 2 largest in town are the farmer-owned cooperative grain store and the John Deere dealership. Each year, the size and cost of the machinery on the forecourt rises, which is good for turnover at John Deere, but bad for rural employment. So like most prairie towns, Monday has a declining population. Its name should make it a perfect place to start a 5-month-long job, except that Monday has no bars, no liquor stores, no legal drinking establishments of any kind. The town is dry in every sense of the word. Out on the prairies, where the cotton and wheat crops grow, almost nothing happens to disturb the peaceful, sweltering hours which stretch from sunrise to sunset. Until, that is, the wheat starts to ripen. The Great Plains, a strip of fertile soils blessed with just enough rainfall to grow wheat. Not at record-breaking yields, a ton, sometimes 2 to the acre, but there are an awful lot of acres in a parcel of land which is 2,000 miles long and 1,000 wide. And the job of harvesting all that wheat is in the capable hands of hundreds of contract harvesting crews, like the one run by Scott and Linda Payne.
We didn't start out 29 years ago thinking that this is what would be, how it would be, for one thing. You know, we had no idea. Sometimes things just happen.
Yeah, but we was only running 3 combines then, so it's nothing like it was.
Mm-mm.
You know, it was really a small type situation. We did 98% of the work as opposed to just the management now.
Yeah,
But,
I went and drove truck and cooked and combined.
Of the 22 men the Paynes employ each summer, 16 of them are rookies on their first, and in all probability, their last ever wheat harvest.
Actually, we live this job. We don't just work at what we do, we live it.
You say you live the job, you also expect your guys to live the job, don't you? Is that asking a lot of some of these 20-year-olds?
Probably, but you know, it gives them a guidance. Yeah, at first it's probably more than they're used to, and yet they'll become acquainted with it, and some of them will fall in love with it. If nothing else, they'll learn a good work ethic. They'll learn that they can work 18 hours a day for a while and trying to accomplish a job.
It's like being in the Army. We kind of take away some of their freedoms. You know, they can't go out and get in their vehicle, and they can't go and see their girlfriend or whatever, go whenever they want to. So we kind of take some of those freedoms away from them. But we also, they're at the time of their life where most of them haven't really made decisions what they want to do with the rest of their lives. So we're kind of a stepping stone there. So that makes us feel good that maybe we have helped young men progress to whatever they are going to do the rest of their lives. So.
What sort of attitude of mind does it take to do this job? Because there is a huge amount of frustration. How do you deal with that?
Well, I guess I don't know for sure. Of course, personally, I have a peace with the Lord, and He's got it all designed for us to do it. But it's just, I also know, though, tomorrow or maybe the next day, we're going to go like crazy. You know, we're going to try to pick up the speed, and I plan on putting in my 2,000 hours, which I think is the American standard anymore. They want to work 40 hours a week, so that average is about 2,000 hours, and we plan on doing it in 5.5 months. And so I know it'll come. It just always has. And there's always a way of working out, even when you get rained out or you get held up someplace, somehow or the other, you in this business we're able to work harder next week or the next day and pick up the slack somehow. And this is a key time for the farmers. This is an exciting time. This is the 4 or 5 days of the year that's their paycheck. And so we're right in the middle of it. We're the ones that bring the paycheck to them.
Been around the combine since I was about 11 years old. Harvest is something I've always wanted to do. It's a great experience. You know, you get to see a lot of country. You know, if you like to run a combine like I do, it's just a great experience. And it's great. I love it. There's nothing better.
It doesn't matter who's doing it as long as that wheat gets to the elevator, it gets to the places to make bread to feed the rest of the world. It doesn't matter who does it and what they look like. I spoke with a lot of farmers, the older farmers, you know, that are in their 50s and 60s, and they say that, you know, they wish they would have done that when they were younger, but they didn't. So now they haven't did it, and they wish they did, but it's actually too late for them to do it.
I mean, in France, it doesn't get nowhere to this kind of heat. Yesterday was 105 degrees. Today it's going to be 105 or better. But I'm lucky because I'm in the air condition. And without that air condition, I wouldn't be here right now. I was staying in Michigan, and I saw an ad in the paper about this harvest. I always wanted to do this. So I called Scott Payne, and I got hired on the job. I told him I was single and I was not afraid of the adventure. Well, these are really nice combines. They're really comfortable and really nice. They were brand new when we started. And what I like is we assign one combine and we stay with it all season. That's important to me. Nobody else touch my combine. I live so many hours in this thing. It's almost like I own it.
With all these young farm boys, they've probably cut with 1 or 2 combines. And so all they're doing is thinking basically for themselves. But then when you get here, then you got to build your team. We can't all be quarterbacks or can't all be in runners or whatever. And it takes a little time to mold that. Follow the rules all day long. One of the rules is don't back up. R stands for rack. That's what I've always tell the guys when we start out at school, If anybody's in reverse, that's just wreck. And if you find any dings on my trucks or whatever, I can almost assure you that 90% of the time, somebody was in reverse.
With 10 combines, Scott Payne needs big fields and big customers. And they don't come much bigger than the 9,000-acre spread run by Kenneth Baker and his son Mike. Just as soon as the harvesters finish in the fields, the tractors come out to start on next year's seedbed. It's a longish 15-mile drive out from Monday. Father, son, and both employees do it every day.
Well, of course, we live in town. Mike and I both do, and our farm employees all live in town. Of course, they all have children that need to be in school, and we lived on the farm for 5 years when Joe and I first married, and of course, with our daughter starting school and all, and we're 15 miles out, it's just much more practical and convenient to live in town.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yes. That's pretty much norm for this area. Nearly everyone that farms out in this general area lives in Mundy.
Wheat, cotton and cattle are the 3 main crops, and managing this sort of operation would be impossible without plenty of horsepower. With these 2 40-foot wide ploughs, there's enough power here to cover 300 acres in a day. But there are times when even big farmers can be persuaded to pick up a spade.
Ground's already kind of getting a little dry. Still pretty fair moisture there.
It looks like a beautiful soil.
Yeah.
So how deep does that soil go before you start hitting something unpleasant?
Well, I would say over most area probably 3 or 4 feet. Of course, this crop this year was made on underground season. We had a wet summer and early fall in '95, and it was only deep moisture that gave us any yield this year. We had very little rain after we sowed this '96 crop.
And no matter how mighty and impressive the technology a farmer has at his disposal, he shares the same problems with everyone in his profession.
This is purslane. It's a summer weed. Yeah, it doesn't have a very big taproot on it. It's kind of a water type weed, real succulent leaves, and it really zaps the moisture out of the ground. You get in a patch of this stuff, and you got it real thick, and it gets this big, the ground will be just like concrete. It really sucks it out. And well, the tillage is the main control of this, because it's, like I say, it's a summer weed, and we can't. Probably 2,4-D would probably be the best thing to spray on it, but you can't spray it in the summer because of cotton and stuff around. Yeah, see, it's really wet. You can drive a tractor across that stuff, and the wheels become so wet, the dirt sticks to it, and it looks like they're driving in mud. That's how much moisture they all contain. It really robs it. But it is really a problem we here just recently. You can plow that stuff, and it'll lay on top of the ground, and if you have any kind of moisture at all, it'll take right back off. Plus, it spreads from field to field by the plows if you don't clean the plows off between fields.
The early American pioneers regarded the plains as a worthless, windswept desert of grass, and were quite happy to leave it to the nomadic natives and the buffalo. Then, in the late 1800s, came a ranching boom. Cowboys arrived with their horses, their guns, and their massive herds of cattle. Superior firepower ensured that the vast herds had the grassland to themselves. But after the ranchers had opened up the prairies, it was the turn of the railways and the hundreds of thousands of immigrants brought in from Europe and the eastern states. They were attracted by the promise of freedom in a new country and a 160-acre patch of land for anyone who wanted it. In their rush, most of the immigrants pushed themselves, and even more crucially their soils, far too hard. For most of them, their dreams turned to dust, and they were forced to head back east, where many of them came from. Tell me about loading up, the process.
Well, that's another problem that I really worry more so is on safety, because I think you've got some pictures of us using the boom, and at that time we're picking that header up probably, well, it's almost head high, so it'd be almost 6 foot tall, you know, and anytime you got an object that's weighing like 6,500 pounds swinging in the air, there's a danger factor. You know, they're good chains, it's a good boom, it's been welded good, but there's still always that opportunity for it to break or to swing around and hit somebody, something. And so that's probably where we're most concerned of safety. The next thing, I'm always in a hurry to be efficient. So that word that I just used, hurry, we're not supposed to use hurry, we're supposed to be efficient instead of hurry.
That's a bad word, is it,
That's
hurry?
supposed to be a bad word, yeah. I say, I'm supposed to say we'll hustle around or let's kind of get with it. But hurry, what's hurry to me might not be hurry to the next guy. You know, he might be working as fast as he can, his capabilities, and I don't think it's fast enough. So that's a word that several years ago we was trying to take out of our dictionary. But you notice I haven't done it very well. But that's the key factor. Loading and that process is the most dangerous time in respect that you get your combines there, you get your headers there, you get your combine trailers there, you get your trucks are there, and you got all this machinery in a small area. And that's where it seems like some fender benders comes, or that's where a finger gets pinched. That's where, you can get it in a sickle. Lots of times when they're up switching it around, somebody could be messing around down on one end, and somebody's up on top, and the header just rolls. And hey, it'll cut your finger off. So it's just one of those things. The door slams shut, the wind's blowing, whatever. There's just a multitude of things that can happen that could cause injury. So
it's one of the few times really that you wind up with men on the ground mixing it with machinery, isn't it? The rest of the time, the men are usually tucked safely away in the
That's
cabs.
right. But yeah, when you're actually in the harvesting mode, yeah, you got one guy in the combine and he knows he's a professional. He knows what he's doing there. You got one guy in the truck and he knows what he's doing, and you got one guy in the grain cart. So virtually no one's on the ground, per se. Yep. So that's why loading, unloading is probably your most dangerous time. The grain cart operator is the one that can smooth the operation out, and that is keeping the combines moving at all times. My theory is not to go fast, but to go steady. He has got to run the whole show. He can be the key person. He can be the key person, that's right.
I've really learned to think ahead. And like this, you almost have to think ahead with this job, but I've learned to do that, and I could probably carry this over to, farming at home too. A lot of thinking ahead and planning and that kind of stuff. I do just about all the bookwork in the field. I learned a little bit, doing that, and how important it was to keep straight records and accurate records and things like that. So, it's probably
Have you messed up at all?
Oh yeah, I've messed up. Everybody's messed up. I think it's a little easier to mess up on this job, and I'll admit I've done it before. But I don't do it as much anymore. I guess it's a good thing. Yeah, I've messed up.
Do you ever pull people off the combines and put them on the truck?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. more so taking them off the trucks and put them on a combine, maybe, because when we're in a combine, when we're right here, I'm within visual contact of them just about all the time. Whereas on the trucks, they get away from me, they're headed to town, but we're still within radio contact at all times. So, and just some people make better truck drivers, some people make better combine operators, some make better grain cart operators, and some are good at everything.
And tell me the difference between the combine drivers and the truck drivers. Your job's a piece of diddle, isn't it?
Ours?
No.
Well, you got to sit out here in the boiling sun all day long. Like yesterday, 108 degrees. The air conditioners wasn't keeping up. When we get to the field, get out of the truck, and you just sit there and sit in the sun. Versus they're in the combine with air conditioning all day.
We got to worry about direction. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it can be, because by the time you get to town, they might have moved 5 or 6 miles. And you got to, find your way back.
Sometimes the combiners think that that's more of an important job, but the combine can only cut a load of wheat, and then he can't do anything unless we got a trucker to get rid of it.
Most farmers in the Midwest send their wheat straight to the cooperative grain stores, which are scattered across the prairies like overgrown chess pieces. Kelly Davidson manages 7 of them, and this year he's not a happy man.
Because of the poor growing conditions this winter, a lot of our wheat never survived. Just a few weeks ago, the local county office, which is Soil Conservation Service, reported that in the neighborhood of 80% to 85% of the ground, or the wheat ground in Greeley County, did not survive. So you're looking at about a 15 to 20% of the acreage is all that will be cut, and the yields will be down on those acres because of the weather.
So can you see signs of that from up here?
Oh yes, if you look back behind me right here, that is or should have been a wheat field. Right now you'll see a lot more green in it than what you see straw. The green is just simply weeds that grew in the bare spots where the wheat died out. He probably will cut the few brown spots in there. They won't yield much because they got weeds down in there too, but that should just be a golden brown and no green in it.
Travels to the Gulf ports by rail, but the railroads are undergoing a period of rationalisation. Lines are being run down and closed. Those that remain are after the really big customers, who can fill not just the odd rail car, but whole trains. So some of the smaller co-ops are fighting hard to keep their connections to what was once the finest rail network in the world. Much of the grain from the prairies passes through here, Enid, Oklahoma, which boasts the 3rd largest grain storage facility in the USA. Unfortunately, most of these buildings are nearly empty. Lloyd Dayton has been working here since he was knee-high to a grain shovel.
I've been here so long. I started out as sweeping the floors, and now I'm in charge, so I know every square inch of the facility, and so it's a part of me, and I hate to see it sitting here doing just a fraction of its capacity.
They are, just from a human perspective, they are impressive bits of architecture, aren't they? Does it still impress you?
Yes. Every once in a while you take them for granted, but if you just look up or look down them, the sheer size of them is very impressive. There's 2 elevators. They're over 1,000 foot long each. The main storage tanks are over 150 foot tall. The head houses are almost 300 feet tall. It just amazes you how big they really are. it may seem very, very humorous, but you know, dinosaurs served a purpose at one time. They were large creatures, and they had a definite place on this earth. These elevators are much the same way. Right now, they're too big for what we need, so they may seem somewhat like dinosaurs sitting here.
When you cross the railway tracks into Kiowa, Kansas, you're entering a famous place. Home of the world's largest Massey Ferguson dealership. At one time, that is. There are still an awful lot of combines in Kiowa, scattered all over the town, but they're all the same shade of green. And the red ones? Well, most of those are on the other side of the tracks. It's enough to make Harry Ferguson weep. But there are people in Kiowa who remember life before the combined harvester had ever been invented.
I tell you what, in the old days, we had about 10 filling stations, about 5 grocery stores, a couple of hardwares. Main Street was loaded. Had a lot of people on Main Street. You'd come to town, they would park in the middle, park on each side of the street, double park. Of course, nobody took their keys out of the car then. You'd just move this guy's car and back out so you could get out. But Saturday night was a great night.
Midnight.
Yeah, and now Saturdays no more.
They came from Arkansas and Missouri and the surrounding states and hoping to get jobs. They were usually young kids that were homesick. One of them actually at my mother's house, she usually fed them out in the backyard. She didn't have them come in the house. And he just wanted to visit with somebody that would remind him of his mother. And he got to crying because he didn't have any shoes. His shoes were wearing out. We girls at that time were not allowed to be out on the streets much because the men were sleeping in the parkways and in the grass.
Well, I think they were hard-working guys. They wanted a job. They didn't care if they got dirt down their neck. They weren't looking for air conditioning. They just wanted a job and seemed to be at home the minute they started working for you. It's kind of part of the family, and I think they enjoyed it, don't you?
I do, yeah.
The owner usually was the boss. He was usually there, and he had a helper. Then there would be 2 wagons pull up on each side, a man on each wagon. There would be probably 3 wagons out in the field, guys pitching on the bundles and the guys on the wagon. So that would be 6, 7, 8, 10 to 12 men on a big machine like this here. These combines are sophisticated, and just like a car, all you got to do is run them, and they'll do a good job. Did you ever run one of these new combines?
Not the latest, no, but I have the others.
Yeah. As you come up from the old pull combines and then the self-propel, and there was always something wrong with them. There was a weakness in them, and it gave you a lot of trouble. And very seldom a day would go by except you'd have a breakdown. Well, then the combine, these new models came along, hydraulic, electric lifts, and diesel engines, and the whole works. It just so sophisticated that these guys want to go through the whole harvest and hardly have a breakdown. You know, it's a pleasure to get out there and run one of those machines. It's sure different.
Do these guys work longer hours than you used to?
Oh yeah, if it stays dry, they'll work all night long. The moisture's the only thing that'll stop them. They're real good custom cutters. They won't hardly take time to sleep.
The job is great. It is really long hours when we get going, when the crop is ready. But we also have long hours of wait. There is nothing to do for several days. So that's quite boring. We service the machines, but you can only service them for so long.
The worst thing, we've been ahead of schedule. We got to Texas, and Monday, Texas, and hit the ground running. And we cut for 7 or 8 days down there. And we got to move, and seems like every place we go, we're just sitting waiting for the wheat to get ready. So we're ahead of the wheat. So it's just when you're sitting, you know, there's not much things to do in some of these towns. But if you know, if it's not raining or something, you can come out to the field and mess with the combines or whatever. So it's not too bad.
So you'd rather come out and mess with the combine than hang around town, would you?
Yeah, it's just you're out in the field. You know, you're not sitting in the trailer house or sitting around town. So I like coming to the field. Yeah.
What do you think of the boss man, Scott Payne?
He's a real nice guy to work for. I think he's a very good manager. He knows how to handle people very well. He's strict, but yet he's relaxed enough. You can feel comfortable around him. Anyway, I do. But you know when the work needs to be done, you know you better get it done.
He disapproves of alcohol. How does that go down with a Frenchman?
Well, not too well. It's okay on the job. We don't have time to drink anyway on the job. But when we have time off, when it rains, we go have some fun in town. We don't sit around and just wait for the good weather. We go have fun. He doesn't say much as long as we keep it away from the trailers.
Does it go like that?
It's kind of a high humidity today. Flies are biting. I don't know if that means good or bad. So go ahead and go get your dinner, and then we'll. What do you think? Do you think we can just run 6 up and then turn around and run 6 back? Because we don't know how far we can go that way.
It's right? We go a lot further on the west end.
than we can here.
Yeah, than we can here, a lot further.
Okay.
If we could kind of funnel it to the...
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll get on it. Why don't you eat your dinner and I'll go run it.
Okay.
Around. How about that?
That'll work.
Tell me about the food and how important that is to your system.
Well, it's very important. And one thing is the timeliness, because then I don't have to worry about it. All I have to do is worry about running combines, getting them where they need to be, or Linda takes care of all the food. So when it's 12:30 or whatever her time schedule is, she's got the food.
Yeah,
there.
they work hard out there, and they deserve good meals. And so I really try to give them something that no one else can get. You know, that they can't get those kind of meals on any other crew, that this is the best that they can get. So that's my goal. And I also feel like we're serving them too. You know, I like to have my people have a servant's heart, not a slave's heart, but a servant's heart. They're willing to give of themselves, and what we do with our lunches and our meals, we're giving of ourselves to them. So it's kind of an emotional thing, I guess. You know, I think very seriously about every meal. So
I was told that you never serve the same meal twice.
No,
Is that true?
Yes, I don't. I make menus up, new menus every day. There's never one that's the same. You know, I might have roast beef, you know, like every 7th day, but the rest of it will never be the same as what I had previous time. No, it's always the same. I get bored having the same stuff day in and day out, so that's my fun, you know, of finding new things, new recipes. I've got a long list of recipes and lots of cookbooks, and so I look through the cookbooks all the time, finding new things.
It's July the 4th, a special day for Americans, not quite such a good day for us British. Linda's determined to make it a day to remember. Ribbon salad, red cake, and an incredible mound of fried chicken. And in all these trailer houses along here, there are women slaving away the same way as you.
Slaving isn't a very good word, Dylan. We preparing, yes, I would assume that. I don't know if, you know, how big a meals most women do for their crews. I would say they tell me that my crew probably gets a bigger meal than most of them, and I don't know that. I know some women are fixing lunches like cold sandwiches, and then they'll you know, they don't always do that. They don't always do what I'm doing.
The food is really the best part of the job. 2 meals a day. There's times I can't eat everything. They mix everything. They'll put jello or strawberries with the meat and the potatoes all on the same plate. That's strange. To me, that's dessert. They have jello just about every meal, and all the other guys put it on the same plate. I still keep it separate.
Linda?
Yes.
How long did it take?
For this meal, oh my, this one was about an 8-hour meal, probably all together, because we started yesterday.
And it seemed to go in about 8 minutes.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? It's all disintegrated too.
Worth it though?
It made their day, sure.
Worth it for you guys?
Yes, I'm sure, because this is a special time, so sure it is.
Good day for you, bad day for us.
Oh no, surely not.
July the 4th?
Oh, that. Oh, I don't even think about that. Yeah, it's a good day for us.
Can I have some of the leftovers now?
Of course.
Can I?
Yes.
That'd be jolly nice, thank you.
Yes.
you like working at night?
Yeah, it's more challenging than it is in the daytime. But usually by 11, 12 o'clock at night, you're pretty tired.
It's a lot tougher at night. For one thing, we get tired if we've been running all day. It's dark, all you see is your header and the weed coming in, and that's it, nothing else. So at night it does seem longer. A lot of time, I can't wait until we quit. But there's times we work till 12, 1 o'clock.
You want to know what I do? If everything's running real good, then what I can do at night, sneak over in a corner so I can watch them all, and I get to see the lights, and you roll your window down and listen to the hum of the combines. It's really a good, peaceful time.
As the crew works its way further north, the weather becomes more unpredictable. Canadian farmers swath their crops 2 weeks before the combines arrive. For the men, that means a change of technique. The 30-foot wide conventional headers are dropped off and replaced with 12-foot wide pickup headers.
The bigger the fields are, the less problems you'll have with a swather, because you have to go in the exact direction that they do, and you have to pick it up the way they swath it. And if they're good swathers, they'll kind of figure out how many bushels an acre is making. And so therefore they would know how big of land to lay out for you. Like one guy here, he laid out a section for it.
So he'd cut that whole section, which is 640 acres, in a complete square, just round and round and round and round and round.
That's good as far as getting acres done, but it was making like 60, 70 bushels the acre, and we can't get around it. So therefore my trucks have to chase the combines down, and of course the grain carts do. And so, you know, after you make the first 2 or 3 rounds, that's great. But it took us an hour and a half to make the first round. But we had it figured that we made a little over 110 acres cut off of it by then. But it just creates a little problem there. The next thing with swathing is if they have the little wet lands in there, so then you end up with all the little short runs, short swaths. I guess the next thing is when they have troubles with their swathers, or when they hit a rock or whatever, they stop. Well, then it bunches that up, and then that's really hard. You can't get the combine to eat that whole glob. Either that or it comes in one glob and it chokes. So that's the problem with swathers. Other than that, if they've done a nice job of swathing, smooth job, it goes relatively well.
Do you think you're more dependent upon the weather once it's in the swath, though?
You get it in the swath, then all I have to do is come through and pick it up. Whereas if it's out in the field standing and we get a snow, which if you caught it on the radio today out of Calgary, you know, now their crop is flat on the ground. So they're going to have to go get pickup guards, and they'll have to use pickup reels. And then whenever you run that machinery that close to the ground, it's just that many more rocks that you're going to get. So in a way, it depends on what happens to the weather. or at the end of September, even just 30 days ago, you can tell so much difference in when the sun comes up and when it goes down.
Is this the hardest time of the year for your job?
Yes, it is. Right now, we've been off for almost 2 weeks, and it might be another week before we can ever run. So it creates quite a bit of stress.
Scott hasn't been talking to us like he used to. He's been, I think he's very preoccupied, and I would understand. I wouldn't want his position. It's a pretty tough one.
Do you make efforts to try and hide your mood?
Oh, definitely.
You take a breath before you come out of that trailer home. And
Yeah, definitely. I don't feel that I can tell you or them what I really feel. But I'm like anybody else. Your moods will change, but I cannot afford to let them know that I'm down. I'm depressed, discouraged, because I'm the one that'll set the tone for sure.
And for a custom harvester, there's only one thing more depressing than a combine in the rain. The weather here comes as no surprise to the locals. Greg Drake runs the grain store.
I've lived in Fort Macleod for 6 years, and I haven't seen two weather patterns the same in the 6 years that I've been here. So, yeah, it can be quite erratic.
the other thing that amazes us is that you're prepared to store the barley outside. How do you get away with that?
Our climate, our mild climate, allows us to do that. We don't have a lot of snowpack or snow cover in this area, so climate is one reason.
How much would you expect to lose in a year?
2%. 2% loss.
That's all?
That's generally all it takes, yeah. So when you can take the economic benefit of putting it on the ground or buying storage, it's still cheaper to pile it on the ground.
I've learned a lot on this harvest, met a lot of people, and I saw a lot of places. It's great. I saw more in this past 4 months than I had seen in several years, you know, all the western United States and western Canada.
Teaches you a lot of respect for other people when you got to live with 7 other guys for this length of time. You got to learn how to live with them, because if you don't have a job.
Seen a lot of places, met a lot of people, worked my butt off for a little while, sat around on my butt for a little while, and you see it all. We've had a good time though, I think. Got a good group of guys that all got along halfway decent. There's times where everybody was ready to kill each other, but you'll have that anywhere you go.
Personally, if I was 20 or 21, I would do this again. I really would. And there's people that say, no, I will never do it again. Well, I notice a lot of those people, like, they come from a big farm, and they're pretty much used to do what they want to do. And those are the kind that don't want to come back. I notice they just don't like the way things are run because, hey, they have a boss and they have to obey to him.
Well, it's something you either love or you dislike. There's really not a medium. For the guys that love it and will come back, you're out in the open, you're not cooped up inside 4 walls, and it's just a way to see the country and work at the same time.
Time goes slow when you're doing this, isn't it?
Yeah, time goes nowhere. You sit out here. It's not bad when you get done and you got something accomplished. Your truck looks nice, but no more than you get back in the field. And it's like, what you done was, it's like, what did I do that for? You know? But I like my truck and I'm proud of it. So.
It's hard on a relationship to come on harvest, be gone for 6 or 7 months out of the year. And tell you what, the last 5 years I've lost 5 girlfriends because of harvest.
Oh, it's wonderful. I think back to my evenings when the combine's all running smooth and they're all in the line and the reels are flashing in the lights, you know, I think about what the Lord's built. I mean, this is fantastic, and I don't take credit in owning all them combines at all. I guess I give the Lord credit on that. I'm just glad that He lets me run them. And seeing what He's created. And that can be from Texas to Kansas, all the way through in the Great Prairies, what they call them up here in Canada. This is beautiful country.
Do you never think about it before you and your combines and the farmers and their ploughs arrive? Would you ever think it was a better place before?
No, this is progress. Progress is supposed to be better.